everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Conversation Station. This episode, we're going to flip through and talk about the stories of three different Superman comics that I have today. So we'll get straight into it. We got a Superman starring in Action Comics number 513 from 1980. And right on the front, we got a big old Superman with some people claiming that that's going to be their new home. And most of these Action Comics come with a Action Plus with Airwave. It's a little extra story. So it's just a little added bonus story that comes with these Superman comics. Right in the front, we have a 1980s Lego ad right there. So that's pretty awesome. This story has to do and opens right up with Clark Kent being subbed out for Lois Lane on a story of Superman Island. Superman built a giant island that looked like himself, full of kryptonite, and shot it into space because, I'm guessing he was just trying to get rid of the kryptonite that was on Earth. And it eventually came back, and people didn't even know why he built it and sent it out in the first place, so they were extremely concerned and confused when it came back, as was Superman. At the same time, there was a organization called Hive that was trying to take down Superman, and they were using people that had helped Superman build the Superman Island to basically get info on it, figure out the secrets, figure out what was in it. They found out that Hive found out that there was kryptonite in it, and they wanted to use it to destroy Superman. Superman obviously did his best to fight them off, and Hive eventually does their best to take control of Superman Island. And while he's doing that and trying to steal the kryptonite from it, Superman is gravely injured, and Lois is taken. And Hive basically just, uses that kryptonite that they got to, incapacitate Superman very well. And basically put him in the dirt with some kryptonite missiles. And Superman learns that a race of beings basically found Superman Island after their home was destroyed. Much like his was. There was tremors. They didn't listen. People didn't listen on the planet, and the planet exploded. A handful of people got on a ship, took off, and they were called the Krell, and they found Superman Island where they set up their home. So obviously they're extremely grateful to Superman for making Superman Island, and they see him as just a helpful person who saved their people and helped them through a very hard time. So they show up, and they are obviously on and in Superman Island, and they end up being the ones that help him. And since they have spent all this time around kryptonite, they actually devised a ray that can help Superman and protect him for a few minutes against these kryptonite missiles and the effects overall of kryptonite. So Superman's able to, have a more effective fight against these Hive guys. And we got a really cool, Saturday morning cartoon ad. Full 2-page ads with all the awesome cartoons. Gotta love those. Got Fat Albert. You got Tarzan, the Lone Ranger Adventure Hour. Of course, Popeye. The Drac Pack. It's awesome. But yeah, Superman breaks in on the Hive location and is able to, easily, obviously, do his thing and get Lois back. And he thanks the Krell people and is able to introduce Lois and tell her all about Superman Island and how he, basically unwittingly helped a race of people survive. And, it runs with that, and we got an ad for the Richie Rich comic, which I actually have 2 or 3 of over in my stack over there. After that, it goes into the Airwave comic, which, like I said, is just an extra added character. Sometimes they add different characters in there from DC, either Superman, sometimes it's the Atom, or whoever. The next one I have is a Adventures of Superman from cover date of June 1989, and it's number 455. And the cover is right there for you. Just absolutely stunning green artwork cover. And on the back we have a Dungeons and Dragons ad. Still pretty awesome. Love the ads just as much as we love the books. Right here we got really old Nintendo help hotline. Get help on video games and stuff like that. This one opens up right on War World. Sorry about that. And Superman has been fighting on War World and has essentially gotten beaten by Draga. Hope I'm saying that right. And he he got not beat, but he essentially refused to kill on Warworld, and it caused a big uproar. So Mongul hopped down and thought he vaporized Superman with a crystal, and turns out that a priest grabbed Kal-El in the middle of him getting zapped, and transported him to basically like a prison amongst the Warworld planets, and just helped him, made sure he survived, got him out just in the nick of time. And here we see Superman waking up in kind of a jungle style outfit, and he's trying to figure out, who are you, where are you from? This guy is some kind of priest who knows a lot about Krypton, and he holds a relic that is from Krypton that was meant for Superman, and just he hadn't got it yet, and he feels like that priest feels like that. Honestly, that was the whole reason that Superman came to Warworld, and everything else was because that relic was like calling him, and he essentially needs to open himself up, open his spirit and his mind up to this amulet, this gem, in order to become his full self, his full potential self, back on Earth. We obviously have Lois and everybody freaking out about him being gone, or Lana, I apologize, Lana, freaking out about Clark being gone, and just, worried about Superman. Superman explains that he left because there was something that he did and he couldn't face. And here in this we have an awesome just fight between Mongul and Draga. Really good back and forth. Draga's trying to take Warworld from Mongul, but Mongul's basically, he's always top dog. I mean, he may let him get his licks in a little bit, and Draga thinks he's on top for quite a while, but eventually, Mongul's got to show that he's truly not going to be, taken as a fool or for anybody's. He's never going to lose, essentially. He's just too powerful and crazy for that. And, he does his thing, and eventually he has his fun with him. The cool thing about that fight is the whole time they're kind of fighting with Clark's outfit, because he was, they think he was killed and vaporized, but Mongul kind of already knew that he wasn't fully dead, just because he didn't feel the satisfying feeling of him being killed. So yeah, eventually the priest talks to Superman, tells him, hey, you got to open up yourself to the amulet, and when he does, he ends up cloaked and clothed just like his dad. And obviously he's not too happy about that. He's like, why am I in my dad's clothes? And priest explains, you didn't open yourself up enough. You just need to do it a little bit better. Here we got more of that Mongul and Draga fight, with them holding that ripped, torn pieces of Superman. That outfit that he left behind after he was hit by that crystal. And obviously, as I said, Mongul gets his way, and he's beaten for a second, but only because he was exposed to kind of a weakness. Draga kind of cheated a little bit. But clearly Mongul's going to be back, and he didn't get full-on defeated. And after that, we see Clark ready to try again, and he says, I'll take the crystal, this time forming more into his classic blue suit. And, he starts to resist. He's saying, hey, it's fighting me. And a guy says, hey, you just got to let it take you, let it have your soul. And eventually we get full-on our Superman with the beard. Amazing reveal, awesome picture. Just some really great artwork right there. And right there he's saying he has to return to Warworld to get back at Mongul and finish his story. The last but not least, we're going to kind of run through it just because I have a little less time than I thought, is Superman, the Reign of the Supermen, number 81 in September of 93. On the back we have a Mortal Kombat, Mortal Monday, September 13th. Prepare yourself, pretty cool. This one is a few different Supermans have came back to Earth, and they're trying to figure out which one is the real one. They got Superboy right there, looking awesome, and Lex is a big part of this. Now, that's Superman. So this story mainly focuses around this mulleted black suit Superman. He comes home, and obviously everybody's having a hard time believing, being that there's been like a bunch of different Supermans showing up initially. But he does his absolute best to show that it's really him, and but a lot of this one is just him explaining that he is the main Superman, and that he is back, and he has just had one heck of a time, and he's ready to get his city back. We have a awesome ad here for Meteor Man, superhero for the 90s, with an absolute stacked cast down there. If you want to read off some of those names. And I love black suit, long-haired Superman. It's just one of my favorite versions of him. long-haired Superman always makes me kind of laugh, but black suit Superman is always to be taken seriously. And obviously his main pitch is to Lois because I'm over anybody else. He knows that Lois knows who he is, and he knows Lois can trust him and will just, he has that faith of, if she can look into my eyes, listen to what I'm saying, hopefully she'll believe it's me. Now we also have another version of Superman who's a half robot, who's actually a man who was left on a basically meteor and exposed to cosmic rays, and once him and his team were all exposed to cosmic rays, his team basically died, and he was left with the power to control and manipulate machinery. And through that, he also had Superman's genetic code, and he blamed Superman for his death. And from that mishap, Superman did try to save him and his team from what happened, but he just wasn't able to, so he just blamed him for not being able to save him and not bringing him home to Earth. And he eventually found Warworld, where he took it over quite easily just by infecting their machinery and making Mongul his, basically his bitch, which is extremely surprising because, as I said, that usually doesn't happen. Mongul gets defeated, but he's usually not put in his place, and he usually comes back pretty hard, if not harder than he was defeated. But of course, he's an enemy, so he's got to lose sometimes. But he is one of those adversaries where when they fight him and when somebody goes against him, it's usually pretty brutal, and it's not something that's gonna just blow over right away. He will fight till the end, or at least until he's very sure that you are going to win. And this Superman does that by transforming himself into a giant metal dragon, and it's something that even Mongul can't really face up against. It kind of startles him, but even that doesn't really take him back, because Mongul doesn't respond to anything but one thing, and this Superman figures that out, and that one thing is pain. So this Superman lets him experience the ultimate amount of pain. Again, Mongul is very strong, very, just crazy leader, but sometimes you have these really powerful beings that come put him in his place, and it's, shows you just how powerful those beings are. And yet, none of them match up to the original Man of Steel. Here we have a great shot of us telling us that the Machine has had Superman's genetic code, how he formed himself to look like the Man of Steel because he wants to destroy the Earth and have the Man of Steel essentially blamed for that, so he can, smear his good name. Now, Superman was in, as I said, the Antarctic, healing up because of an attack, and that's where he spent his whole time, and they were just trying to, he's explaining that to Lois, and she's trying to, put it all together and just trying to deal with the fact that there's been a bunch of different Supermen showing up over the last few days and few weeks, and, just trying to come to grips with the fact that, this is her Clark, this is her Superman, which would obviously be, hard for anyone to accept with stuff like that happening. We just get some great artwork. Him in that black suit really does look fantastic. It really doesn't get old to me. Obviously, you have those candid moments with him and Lois, which is, kind of like what we're going to get in the new movie, which I'm really looking forward to. And in the end, of course, Superman's back. He's ready to fight. He's truly ready to take back Metropolis. He's tired of the imposters. And it's just a really cool, really uplifting feeling of he's back and he's going to, take back his home. And, ends in true Superman fashion of just leaving you with some hope. Would definitely like to get the next installment of this comic, so I'll be on the lookout for that. I appreciate any time you spent watching my videos. I really do enjoy these comics, and I enjoy sharing them with you. I really hope to see you again, and thank you for watching.